Hello. I almost said good afternoon. I can't sleep. I'm going through it in the best and worst ways possible. Um, Today has been a day. I'm just like, oh my gosh. I was honestly like, I wonder if Saturn is at 13 degrees. I was like, because my Saturn is at 23 Aquarius. Um, this Two of Swords is kind of like hitting me. And it's not every day. But by this point, it's at least once a week. I feel like I was so like whatever that everything is sort of catching up to me now. Again, in the best way, but it's very Akusunare. And Akusunare, when did that? I wish I had it actually. I have a note, I think. Oh, my phone is on the list. Let me look it up. Akusunare is. One second. Un momento, por favor. I watched. Hey, Skywalkers, how you doing? I watched Rob's the Pisces part of um his all signs today. I was like, ooh, what am I looking for? Oh yeah, here it is. So on 8/9/20, I guess that's when I had the dream. That was Akusunare. And then I wrote in the note, the things that we shine light on are the things that continue to shine. That was probably a point in time when I couldn't sleep either. But it's just been like, ooh, I feel like I'm at this. I mean, the cards that came out for Rob, it was Death, the Wheel of Fortune, the Queen of Cups. And if you look at the cards, the bird is getting some flesh on its bones as it goes from the dead bird to the Queen of Cups bird. But today I feel like I'm encountering like old fears. And I've talked about it before. And it's like it's partially old fears on one hand. On another hand, it's like I'm experiencing so many different things almost like all at once. I'm like, oh my gosh. But what it's doing is it's giving me the opportunity to like more fully embrace who it is that I want to be and to become who it is that I want to be by unbecoming who it is that I was. And I was someone who allowed fear to like literally keep me from living my life, like a lot of people do. So I wasn't like necessarily special or unique in that way. And earlier today, I had to like literally tell myself, I was like, it's okay to be afraid, but I'm no longer Like I'm no longer gonna allow fear to like dictate my life. I'm not gonna give up before I even try. Even though like I was like, I kinda wanna. And then other things are just kind of sort of like moving and happening. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. I was just telling one of my friends, it's like I've never been. And I was telling my mom, I was talking to my mom a lot today. I was talking to her this morning. And then after work, I was talking to her again. It's like I've never been so, I wanted to say readily available, but it's been a process over the last, since 2020, over the last year, right? Yeah, because 2019, I was still in school. It's been a process over the last year of like not being so like, I know what I like, I know what I want, and I'm not going to engage in anything that I don't like or don't want. I've been so in a process of allowing, releasing, um, like allowing myself to have experiences instead of like shutting everything down. And it's no wonder why like everything built up. Cause again, it's like what in August, I was like, I'm kind of sort of triggered low key right now, but it's only like this is like step zero. I can do this. And that was like, I feel like that was my August. It's like, I can do this. I'm kind of sort of like afraid, but I can do this. I can do this. I can do that. And now it's just like, you kind of sort of got to do all of it. And I haven't had depression in like, when was the last time I was like depressed? It's been a minute. 2018? Because I remember like January 2019, my friend was like, how are you? And I was like, like last semester didn't work out. I'm in a not great position in life. Like if you look at my life, but strangely enough, I'm not depressed, question mark. And it's not that I'm necessarily depressed now, but it's like, oh, it's the world card. I'm using the Pride Tarot because I haven't used it in a minute and I felt like it. What's at the bottom of the deck? Oh my gosh, that's the 21. The Two of Pentacles. Um, it's just like these old fears in the Wheel of Fortune. Two of Pentacles in the Wheel of Fortune. But at the same time, it's like Five of Wands, the Devil, and Judgment. This is obviously just going to be like a ranty video. I don't even remember what I was saying. The Star. With the Lovers at the bottom of the deck. The Star in the World. It's very that one recent-ish Disney Pixar movie where it's like when you go on the land, you just like magically sprout legs, and when you go in the water, you just like magically sprout a tail. But Akusunare is it's the space where you enter what used to be a dark night, but it's like allowing light where there's never been light before, basically. And I've talked about it before. And I feel like I'm in that position where it's like light is definitely in places where it wasn't before. In some places, in some aspects of my life. And I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, like my life is too whatever. It's like too good right now. But it kind of sort of low key is. What? Five sword? Oh, five wands. I don't know why I read swords. For Scorpio, I only watched the Pisces part because I was like in bed. I had a final today. Remy sent me a message because I told her about the final I had yesterday, and I was like, "Oh crap, I forgot about my final." And I was gonna go to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. And reading helps me sleep sometimes. Um, but there's like a lot of light in honestly most. By most, I mean what, two out of what, three or four, maybe five areas in my life. One of them, just like working, doing work that I didn't even think I'd be capable of doing. So that's already infinitely more light than I thought was going to be in that area. And then in another area of life, there's like more and more like, hey, Starbornberg, SBV, what's up? How are you? Oh, well, there you go. Five of Wands came back out with the Nine of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Oof. The Five of Wands is black and white in this deck. Um, oof, I feel this. It has. It's been a hot second. Excuse me. Maybe this is the Akusunare energy. Well, it's between the Akusunare and the Dark Knight. It's like light and dark battling for the same space. And I honestly feel that right now. Like that honestly feels like relatable. But it reminds me almost of the Five of Wands in, I don't know the deck, but if you've ever seen Russ's Two of Cups chart with Enkidu and Gilgamesh, it's that deck. I have a friend who has that deck. And in the Five of Wands, it's like brothers who are like fighting, and it's like play fighting almost. It's not like real fighting. I guess almost how it feels very almost how like dogs will play with each other or like big cats. And it's like in playing with each other, it teaches them how to like hunt better or whatever. So they actually grow from it. It's like friendly competition. It's a space of friendly competition. Now this Five of Wands might not necessarily be, but it reminded me of that. I thought of the card in that deck. Excuse me. And even that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And I'm like, show up, show up, show up, show up, show up, show up. Don't stop. Don't quit. Don't go back to the shadows. And I'm like squinting so hard. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't see. And just keep going, just keep going. It's like the hermit's journey, but instead of like a lantern in the dark, it's just like light. And again, that's the Akusunare. It's where light sort of meets us in spaces where we've never allowed light to be. And so we have to face the darkness in that. And it's almost, I guess it's more of a resolving because that's what it is. I guess that's the coffin. Ah, synchronicity. I know what deck I'm gonna use. Actually, I'm not. Ooh, the King of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, though. It's the Lenormand coffin. Um, but it's like this is the thing that puts those fears to bed. This is the thing that puts those shadows to rest. This is the thing that puts me in the light of what I want to experience rather than the darkness of what I'm afraid of and what I don't want to experience and what I don't want to happen. Um, it's also out of the darkness that was my experiences in the past. And I thought about it. It's like the past few days, it's been this like really good sort of like very chariot energy, but at the same time, I guess because I've talked about the situation, my work situation right now. At the same time, it's putting me in a position to be a little bit more emperor, I guess. Um, in just like having a voice, really, and having a stance. Um, and then I guess that death in like the parts of myself again that I'm letting go, and it's all one beautiful tower that is crumbling and coming back up together and falling apart, and it's like an egg cracking to reveal whatever's inside. The golden egg, I guess, or the black egg, or the cosmic egg. Excuse me, maybe the cosmic egg because I was talking about the hermit. And I guess today, and I was like by myself today. So, my brain had time to spiral. And I'm just thinking, I'm like going down the whole list, like maybe I should start looking for something else, but I don't want to leave anybody in a rough spot. So maybe I could wait until the beginning of the year and then put in my 2 weeks, go look somewhere else, get a different job, get a job that's more aligned to like this thing, honestly, just because it's easier and it's interesting. It's funny. It's kind of sort of hilarious in a not that funny kind of way. Because in my interview, I said I want to challenge myself. I was like, I'm taking this position because I want to challenge myself. And then my boss was like, oh, well, it's not that challenging. It's like, it's not that hard. She was like, or one isn't necessarily because there were two options. There was the one that I was selected for, and then they saw my degree and the classes I took, and they're like, "Oh, you're actually also suitable, qualified for this other position." The other position is the one that I took because it was a challenge. Now I'm being challenged in this position, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I want to quit. I don't want to do this." But I did have a moment today after the spiraling, and again, because like, what was it last week? It was last Friday. It's like once a week. Last Friday, which wasn't actually, it wasn't that long ago. I was like, do I want to do this? Do I want to have to potentially face this? Do I want to put myself in a situation where I'm actually going to have to face my fear? And it's not like my fear is huge, but again, it's a fear. Um, and it didn't like completely wash over me like it did in the past, where I would fall into like a days to weeks to maybe even potentially month-long depression. But it was like I could kind of sort of feel it like peeking out. And I was like, do I want to feel that again? First, I was like, whoa, I haven't felt this in a minute. Like, what is this? Hello? Then I was like, well, is this something I want to subject myself to? Like, do I want to feel this or do I want to sort of cut and run? And that's the old sort of pattern, right? For me, obviously. And then, I've been processing through this in the last few lives and then through the space of the self reads and everything. And I thought I hit a resolution point. That's the thing. It's always like you think, but then life happens and then it's more or something different or sometimes less than what you would have thought. Because again, like I did the first self read and it was like, well, how do you want to show up? Like, what's your intention behind it? Blah, blah, blah. And so I go into the meeting with a little bit more preparation, with a lot more thought. And then I leave the meeting with a whole other set of questions. But anyway, so today I kind of sort of approached that space again. And I was like, like I am nervous. I am afraid. And I was like, it's okay to admit that. It's okay to be afraid. And then I was like, well, do I want to, again, this is stuff I've already talked about, which is why integrate was my word for 2020. Because in 2019, it was like learning the same lessons over and over again. And I would be talking to my journey buddy, and she'd be like, Patrick, you already know this. You already know what to do. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, because I experienced this before. And I just like, I was tired of that. So I made integrate my word for 2020. And my word for 2021, my word for the year 28, or was it 2021, was, it was, what was it? It wasn't unbelievable, but it was something like that. Because my thing was like, I'm going to end the year in a position that I wouldn't have even, maybe it was unimaginable or something. It was something along those lines. Because I wanted to end the year in a position that I would have not even remotely imagined at the beginning of the year or when I turned 28. And I'm born on the 28th, so it's my golden year. Um, and so far, definitely, definitely ending the year way beyond what I had would have imagined in the beginning, and in some ways, even more so. And it's not anything that's necessarily like forced. Not that anything was. Um, but it's a lot. And it's a lot because there are like old fears that I have to sort of put to bed. And then there's the part of me that's afraid. I'm like, it's okay. And then I was like, wow, Patrick, you're strong. You're doing a good job. I was like, wow, yeah, I am. Thanks. And I almost got, did get emotional. But again, I was by myself. I was like, I better not cry up here. Because then if somebody come up here, they can be like, what? Who is this weirdo just up here crying? Hello? um, and it was a moment, honestly. It was a moment for me to really feel the impact, the significance, and the weight of all of the work that I've been doing. Because it's like those little questions that would have led to the spirals kept me from living my life for like a good at least 20 years of my life. Maybe like, let's say what, maybe like 10, 11, 12, 13. And that was 24, the first 24 years of my life. I'm only 28. That's what I was working to undo. Um, I do until I turn 29. I don't know what 29 is going to be. 29 is going to be amazing. Um, but I was like, yeah, I don't have to give up. And so, was that before? Yeah, that was before. I gave myself a little, not pep talk, just like a review. I'm like, I'm already here. I'm already in this position. Like I said, I was talking to my mom earlier. I'm like, wow, and I was talking to my ex roomie last night. And it's like, I've never really been the type of person to like hang out with people. Like, I got my best friends, and my best friends are definitely an exception, right? Um, but even with one of my best friends, more so, like, there were a lot of things I didn't get to do or I didn't do. And now it's like connections beyond connections, question mark. It's just so different. And I know I'm being kind of vague. It's intentional, obviously. I'm a Pisces, house Pisces, wrestling around. Check it out. We're vague. I love it. But it's like the dynamic. So there's this dynamic, and this dynamic is bigger than just this. But there's this dynamic. And from the other side, I'm getting some things that I haven't necessarily experienced in the past. And again, it's like it flows like water. It flows like milk and honey, I guess. It just comes, it just happens. It's like natural. It's not anything that I have to like fight for or whatever. It's just there. And then because of that, it's like it's also different, it's also new, it's also light in a space. Well, I mean, this definitely was a space that was dark for a long time, which is why I intentionally did the work I did, right? Um, but it's like I feel like it's encouraging in a very almost forceful, but not by any external means, me to be present and to show up and to not run away. When I feel like the more present I am, the better it gets, question mark, to the point where more often than not, I guess now especially, I feel like I'm finding comfort and flow a lot quicker than I would necessarily think or assume too. And it's partially because of all the braving and I remember I was like, Eve, I was brave today. It's because of all of the braving, encouraging I've been doing. It's like, for some things, you only have to be brave or courageous for so long. And then eventually it's not something that you're really afraid of anymore. Um, oh, you laughed at the vague, not to be vague. Gotcha. He was like, "You're vague, Pisces." I was like, "I know, and I love it." I don't think I was supposed to like it though, but I love it. Uh, but yeah, that's what I was telling my mom earlier today because I remembered a conversation I had with her a year and a half ago about like what I gravitate towards. And I was like in the shower this morning, and I was like, "Wow!" Like I think I sort of like changed up what I gravitate towards in a way. And again, it also comes in the space of what I allow to happen. Cause I mean, it's definitely a space again, fear, darkness. There was only dark before. And I guess fear isn't always dark, right? By dark, in this case, it's like it's things in my life that I never experienced. There's no light of experience or a light of a personalized awareness from the experience and not just the thought of the experience. It's like writing in pages that were blank, right? The blank page is the dark, the written page is the light. And fear is the thing that kept me from writing on these pages, just like access is the thing that keeps me from writing on other pages, right? Some other pages. Like if I had the ability to, I would write on pages, right? Oh, that was quick. Um, but that's the Akusunare. And Like the space itself is, oh, it's the Knight of Cups. Oh, beaches. There's another synchronicity. Um, and I guess that's what, in general, that's what the end of this year is kind of sort of. That's what December is looking like for me. The Two of Swords was the Akusunare and a whole bunch of stuff. Um, and honestly, it's like the life, like where I found myself in life, I don't really have room for fear anymore, or I don't have room to allow fear to stop me from doing things anymore. And like my whole life was basically more or less living within, the confines of fear. I didn't approach, and I said turgor pressure recently. I don't remember why, but it was making me think of turgor pressure. I was like, I kind of sort of feel like Neo from the Matrix when he like got unplugged. I don't even think it happened in the movie. It's like a baby. I feel like a baby pressing against like the amniotic sac or whatever, like trying to get out. You know what I mean? And then it like you get out and it breaks in the water, just like, you know what I mean? Like pressing against this veil, but not necessarily. Well, I guess kind of. And it's just like, oh my gosh. I feel like there's no. Oh, I think that's the best way to explain it. It's Akusunare. It's holding light in spaces where there was only dark before. I don't know if I necessarily thought it would be this difficult question mark. But again, for me, it isn't really difficult. And I feel like it's less difficult because of the things I've done and because of how I've approached my journey. Like, I'm not going to allow this fear to stop me from living my life anymore. I did that for 24 out of 28 years of my life. I've already done it. And especially now that like things are getting better, it's a non option. But it don't make it less, well, it does make it less sucky. Um, ooh, Knight of Cups, King of Wands. That's interesting. What else do I got over here? I was like, I was going to use the Mystical Dreams Tarot because I haven't used them in a minute. Actually, I just used them recently. The King of Pentacles came out. He talked about honoring tradition, but also looking forward to the future. The fire, his blue flame, or the flame from his truth, parts the veil. Um, it makes way for new things. I don't know. I guess that's all I want to say. I feel like I haven't necessarily just like ranted or rambled or vented on my channel in a minute. Like, this is what I'm going through right now because I feel like this part is also important. But it's not, it's interesting because again, it's like it's death card energy, it's tower energy, it's Wheel of Fortune energy, but it's not really painful because I'm less attached. Because I'm more attached to what the wheel is turning into than what the wheel is turning out of. Um, I'm just like, wow. So what else? I'm gonna pull this card right here. It's the lovers. What the lovers was at the bottom of the deck when the star came out. What about the lovers? Clarify the lovers, please. The Knight of Swords with the Knight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. And they're looking at each other. There's the light one, there's the dark one. Right. All the knights, so the Knight of Cups, the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Pentacles are all on the table. These are the court energies. The King of Wands is on the table. So the lovers is it's like it's bringing the Knight of Swords, and I like that. The Knight of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles, they meet at the space of um it's like I don't know. It's like what is reasonable, feasible, realistic, and like practical solutions, right? Because I feel like the Knight of Swords can come up with a lot of ideas to solve a problem. And the Knight of Pentacles is like, okay, like this one makes sense. That one doesn't make sense. This one we can do with what we have. This one we could do if we outsource some of this to somebody else. It's like the Knight of Pentacles energy is the one that grounds it and makes it real. The Knight of Swords is the idea of the conception. The Knight of Cups is the Knight of Cups. And then the King of Wands is the King of Wands. And I feel like I've been fairly King of Wands about like this is what I desire. I said I wanted everything. And I mean it. I want it all. And so now with the Knight of Cups and the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles, I'm doing it. It's like you want it and you said you want it. Now it's time to do it. But this King of Wands does have a motorcycle. So this isn't a King of Wands energy that isn't going anywhere either. So in this way, it's interesting because it's like fire is leading me right now. And fire's been leading me for over a year now. And fire was the one thing, again, fire was the one thing that, especially in me, I never allowed space for. Like the fire in my chart, it's Venus who was locked up, Chiron in my North Node. Ooh, how many cards is this? The Fool, the High Priestess, and the Knight of Wands. Well, there's the Knight of Wands with the Fool and the High Priestess. I feel like this energy, it feels very like right on track, right on target, right on cue. Was I thinking about that recently? It's like having no idea that what you're doing is actually, yeah, because of that situation. That's why I thought about it. It's like having no idea that where you are and what you're doing is actually gonna come. Oh, there's another synchronicity. Um, it's like whenever it's like if you're watching a TV show or anything like that, or a movie, whatever, and there's some like something that happens at the beginning that isn't insignificant, but then later it becomes even bigger. Or like they bring the character back, they reference it, and you're like, oh my gosh, like it was a thing when it happened, but now it's an even bigger thing because It's like there was no conception of the eventual size and scale of the thing, or how it would come back, and the magnitude that it would sort of like have when it came back. And I was thinking about that because of how I was like mad. I was upset that Wednesday, but it's because things transpired the way that they transpired on that Wednesday that I was prepared the following Thursday or Friday. I was prepared the following Friday. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Wait, how did that happen? I'm just like, wait, am I supposed to be doing everything I'm doing right now? That did just kind of happen. I didn't even notice it. But it's because things transpired the way they did on Wednesday that I was prepared the following week. And at the time I was like, it doesn't have to happen this week. This can happen next week. It can happen in the future. It does not have to happen today when I have all of these other things to do. And she was like, well, it's happening today. And I was like, but again, it's like it's because it happened at the time where I didn't think it had to happen. I thought I would have had more time later. But that's also one of the things that I've discovered in quite a few areas of my life. It's like how I feel like the magic of the universe is the magic of the universe, and the magic of timing and events and coincidence. It always is what it is, but it feels like it's a little, well, no, it is always what it is. But it feels like it does get a little bit more wondrous or whimsical in whatever way when you're more of an active and willing participant. Cause like still like even when you aren't, even when I wasn't, when it comes back, it's still like, oh my gosh, it came back. But it feels like you can go further or farther when you're not fighting it. I'm surprised the Wheel of Fortune isn't here. But I mean all the knights are here. And I guess I'm also not not surprised. Um all the knights are on the table with the King of Wands. It's all majors, court cards, and then the Five of Wands. And like 4 out of 5 court cards are knights. And again, I guess it's the energy of like it's moving forward. It's just like there are things that I encountered along my journey where it's almost like Tetris. It's like clearing a block in Tetris. If you clear pieces next to the block, it'll clear the block. And like that's how you clear that block. But the only way to clear the colored pieces is with other colored pieces. So it's like there are things that just kind of sort of get resolved in the course of like your healing overall. And there are things that we heal, or you heal, or I heal. And then it comes the time to like put that healing into action. And putting it into action is what cements it, is what anchors it, is what does the rewriting and the recoding and all that stuff. Because it's like we can do it in theory, we can do it mentally, astrally, maybe even emotionally. But it's almost like until it actually happens for some things, until it actually happens and we actually make the healed choice and decision when we don't act out of whatever we were acting out of before that kept us in whatever loop we were in before. It's like until that happens, it doesn't necessarily break. And this is an opportunity to break it. It's like positive peer pressure or something like that. What card was that? A card. Here it is. The Nine of Cups. Ooh. With Judgment at the bottom of the deck. And it does make me think of, it was a Libran energy, and I think it was February 2020, and I referenced it recently. But with this Nine of Cups, it's almost this question of like, are you bold enough? Are you daring enough? Do you have the audacity to actually claim the thing you say you desire? And it makes me think of, because it was this Libran energy with scales. I don't know. I mean, Libra is scales, but it was like we set our side of the scale, and then life brings us things. There are things that are going to be heavier, things that are going to be lighter, things that are going to be about the same weight. And it's like, for the things that are lighter, maybe there are things that, for whatever reason, we need to disengage from. Whether we do or not is our choice. For the things that are heavier, it's like, it's the space of things that challenge us in some way. And either we rise to the challenge or not. It's our choice. For the things that are the same way, it's easier to choose. And it was an energy. It's like, I hope you don't miss out on something that is for you, because when it approaches you, like, you don't feel good enough, you don't feel worthy, like, whatever, self sabotage, whatever flavor of self sabotage. And there is partially a potential for, no, that's still self sabotage. I guess going like, this is too hard, I quit, or like, this is too scary. It's like, ain't nothing even happened yet. Hello. What do you mean? Six of Cups, Nine of Swords. Oh my gosh, that's like perfect for like old worries, old traumas. And it's like, when you were younger, especially when I was younger, certain themes seemed a lot bigger than they actually were. It's like, this is the thing when I was a child. This is the thing now. It's like the size, the proportions, it's definitely, and what is it, like, the crack is the space where the light enters. It's just like, we wouldn't have experienced it anywhere else. Or so it's like, come on, brain, where are the metaphors? It's like, if you're looking for something and there's one area that you never look, or it reminds me of this one show where they were actually looking for Hades, and they were in the underworld, and they're like, oh my gosh, where did Hades go? Like, do you know where Hades is? And they went to this cartographer. Well, he was a cartographer when he was alive, so when he died, he was still a cartographer. And he's like, I've mapped every inch of this place, and I don't know where he is. But there was this one space I wasn't allowed to go. And so it's essentially the idea of like they had an idea of the place and where Hades was because that was the one space in all of the underworld that he wasn't allowed to go. You know what I mean? So it's like if it isn't in any of the places that you've already looked or that you've already felt around, then maybe the answer, and it reminds me of, was it Sigyn? Not Sigyn, Thogan? Thorn? The silent Valkyrie rustling around over the summer, I think, at some point. And it's almost like that's why your shadows are the key to whatever new abundance or whatever. Because it's like the things that you wouldn't do, the things that you were too afraid of or too nervous or whatever. And so it's like you've already mapped out like everything else in your life. And so if none of that sort of worked for you, then it would be like the things that you were too whatever to try that were inaccessible to you for whatever reason. It's just like it makes sense. Okay. The Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck. The Hanged Man. So yeah, that's been my life recently. It's this combination of, oh my gosh, this is like really cool. Oh my gosh, this is too cool. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do this. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do that. Oh my gosh, I might have to actually like whatever. Um, and it's like all over. I feel like so many ends of the spectrum, so many points along the spectrum. Um, but again, it's like the more I do, the more I show up, the better things go. And even if they don't necessarily work out or whatever, it's like now I have the experience of doing the very things that I would have never had the experiences of doing because for me, I was too afraid. I was too afraid, or I didn't think that there would be any point because I didn't think I had a future. So, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to waste my time, energy, or effort. Um, and it's just like doing things, I guess, with the Knight of Pentacles, it's like doing things, it creates the space for other things to happen. Almost like testing a hypothesis in a way. Again, it goes back to Hades in the underworld. It's like, well, if I've mapped everything else and what I'm looking for isn't there, maybe it's in that one area that I never allowed myself to go. Maybe it's somewhere within the things that I never allowed myself to do. Did it flip over? Hold up, wait. It did on Nine of Cups. The bottom of the deck is the Five of Pentacles. That's literal. It's almost literally this energy, though. But it ain't gonna be easy. What's that sound? Love don't come easy. It's a game of it. Take on just to wait. The Five of Pentacles in this deck, it's the Pride Tarot. So it's someone getting kicked out of their home. But it's this idea of like not finding the things and the spaces that you thought you were supposed to find them. In this card in particular, it talks about chosen family. It's like you didn't necessarily get the love and support from the people who are supposed to give it to you, like your parents, the people you are blood related to. But with chosen family, it's like there are friends or there are other people that you meet that you're not even related to, not even your real mama or your real daddy. And they love you in the way that you were supposed to get it before or in the other place. Or it's just calling you outside of your comfort zone. It's like the person never would have gotten the Nine of Cups inside that house, and that's why they had to leave. It's not an easy going, but it's worth it. Worth is a value judgment, right? So for some people, it'll be worth it. For some people, it won't be worth it. And it also kind of sort of depends on what you're going for, I guess. But as for me personally, it would be worth it. It's already been worth it. I mean, it's been more than worth it. That's why I'm like, am I not gonna do this? I'm like, no. Am I really gonna, after everything I've been through, after everything that I've experienced, am I really gonna quit before I even try? Oh, yeah. So I gave myself a pep talk, right? And then I went to lunch or whatever. And then when I came back in from lunch, I was brave. And I was like, you know what? That wasn't that bad. And for me, also, like, it, that was a lesson for a while. Learning how to ask for help when I need it, learning how to utilize resources that are like literally available to be used when the situations arise. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's like I had a negative coping mechanism, which was just to like suffer in silence and spiral internally. And it's like, I don't have to do that. Like, I already know that. Like, I've done it. And again, for me, it's like, it's something that I've been meaning to do literally since I started, in a way. And I was like, hey, like, and I went and talked to somebody today. And I was like, hey, I meant to do this when I started, but situations and circumstances have forced me to do this now. So I was like, well, maybe I won't have to do it. Maybe I won't have to say anything. Maybe it'll be fine. And so that's an energy. See, going back to the dominoes and the reoccurrences and the magic and splendor of life, it's like if I would have had that conversation in the past, I would have had that to pull on now rather than now having to have that conversation. So it's almost like, I can't go back in the past. But if I would have done it in the past, I would have had even more resources that are immediately available because it was already established. And maybe it is a time. It was. I mean, I feel like it's always a time of establishing in a way. Why build this grand, marvelous foundation and never use it? I guess. So that's it. I feel like I am sufficiently tired and rambled out, and it's almost been an hour. And I kind of sort of, I'll pull one of these. Why not? The Tarot of Magical Correspondences. Thank you, Cindy. I'll try to get my big brain on. Um, and it was like, it was so easy. It was so simple. It was such an easy fix. And I knew it would be. But man, I was like, what is this? I'm like, I ain't felt this fear in a minute. But I haven't spiraled into a depression, which is different. Mostly because, when I come home from work, I'm done. Um, but I also feel like I won't say it hasn't been resolved or worked through, but again, it's like there have been things that I know I need to do, people I know I need to talk to, things I know I need to say that I haven't done, said, whatever. And it's only doing me a disservice. So maybe that's also a part of the Two of Swords. It's to not procrastinate as much. Because again, when it comes back, it'll have a more major role or whatever. I just want like one of these because I'm not necessarily trying to be on here all night. I honestly wish I could just like I gotta work tomorrow. I got four. Ooh, five. The King of Wands again. Who's at the cut? Justice. Ooh. No problem, Skywalkeress. Who's at the cut? The Knight of Coins and Justice. Oof, we already see another knight. We start with the King of Wands, the Four of Coins, which I saw at the bottom of the deck. I don't remember what came out. The Tower, the Sun, and the Five of Coins. With Justice and the Knight of Coins at the bottom of the deck. Well, the Knight of Coins has a Phoenix on it. This is Tiferet and Gavura. Tiferet is the heart. Gavura is severity, judgment. The left pillar of judgment or the left pillar of severity. And judgment was at the bottom of the deck at 1.2. I don't remember when. See? Tiferet and Gavura as the Saphira. Hey, the elephant is there. Synchronicity. Actually, oh, look, there's the scales I was talking about. With what's heavier, with what's lighter. And with the elephant here, elephant is real heavy. So, oh, well, the Knight of Coins has a bull. It's not as heavy as the elephant. But maybe this skeletal figure in full armor lugging around a giant pinnacle would be. Maybe if you put all of these, they'll equal the weight of the elephant. But elephant, especially with the energy of Lord Ganesha behind it, it is the energy of overcoming the insurmountable or surmounting the insurmountable. But it's almost like tough love on the self. Not in a like a self-chastising way, right? Not in a what's his name who got Hester Prynne pregnant, where he was like self-flagellating. And it's like, you torture yourself in private, but she suffers in public. But anyway, it ain't about that. But it is it's holding the self accountable. King of Wands, the vision of God face to face. Oh, this is fire. The Knight of Wands is the Phoenix. And then there's the horse, which is that chariot energy. I feel like so the thing I don't think I said it, but the thing about the energy of the elephant and the scales, it feels like there is an energy of like overcoming barriers and obstacles, but it's something that we put into motion. It's something that we participate in. or I participate in because I make a lot of my processes active. Um, and it reminds me of the other wind, actually. And if you've read or listened to Ursula K. Le Guin, The Other Wind, it reminds me of The Other Wind with this. And then it's the Four of Coins. Well, that makes sense for The Other Wind, especially in that hoarding energy. Um, it's like things that were never, it feels like it stagnated because it wasn't allowed to go anywhere. It feels like, oh, ooh, Russell, I think I picked that one too, or I watched it last year in France. I'm pretty sure it's when Russell was in France because he had the big deck. And he did an inner child reading, and it was a pick a card reading. And one of the inner children is like, it was stuck inside, like looking out the window and forced to do lessons or study or whatever. And that's what this feels like. What's interesting though is this is on the pillar of mercy. It's Chakma and Chesed. I know I'm like butchering that, but it's Chakma and Chesed. And again, it's like what this justice, it's Tiferet, the heart, and Gavura, which is the center of the pillar of severity, which was that like that tough self love, that holding self accountable. And it's like with the energy of like mercy bleeding into wisdom, it's like again, it's the space that, because this felt like an active energy, this is passive. And I was just watching Rob, his Pisces part, and he said that to allow something is passive, but it's almost active in this case because it's like things can't move through a closed door. So to allow something is to open the door for it to come in. But I guess that wouldn't be allow, then it would be to welcome or to usher in or some other word, right? So there is already this energy. It's like, and I guess it goes back to the question of the Nine of Cups with the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck, or the Nine of Cups, the Six of Cups, and the Nine of Swords, where it's like, do we even have room to receive what it is that we wish for or ask for? Do we have the capacity to allow the things into our lives that, and I watched a little bit of one of Queen Cup's last lives, and she talked about how the light of the future is triggering our own shadows. And I literally watched that bit and I recorded it and I sent it to Rainy. And it's definitely triggering me. But again, it's like it's giving me the opportunity to rise, to overcome, to allow for things to change by choosing something different. And maybe that's also the Two of Swords or the Two of Pentacles. It's a very or the Scales of Justice. It's a very consequential energy. It's like you make a choice and then there's a consequence or there's a follow up. It's like when you choose this, you're also choosing that. And you may not necessarily be consciously choosing that, but by making this conscious choice and decision, you're also choosing that, right? It's like if you choose to rent instead of own, then, or if you choose to own instead of rent, then you are for sure taking on all the responsibilities of the upkeep. If you choose to rent instead of own, then it's probably going to be in your contract or in your lease, like who sort of handles what when it comes to the property. And then next is the tower, which is Had and Netzach. This is the left and the right leg of the tree. These two together allow us to move forward, right? Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And it's all about this information knowledge is coming from the book of the Angelarium, basically how they broke it down in the Angelarium book. And then I did look it up. Um, but it's like we have to both be firm and also receptive in order to move forward. Because I think Netzach, right leg endurance, Had, left leg submission. It's like the endurance, like that's the step forward. That's when we take, that's like the emperor energy that I was kind of sort of talking about for me. But it's to also allow life to unfold and the universe to work in the way it's going to work with the submission. Hod or Hode. I don't know which it is. Well, Yod, right? Yod, so hot. I've never heard anybody say Yod. Doesn't mean it's not Yod or Hode. I don't know. And it feels like that's the secret alchemy. And then the sun comes in that bridges Hod into Yasad. And Yasad is, it's the place where everything becomes one again at the bottom of the tree of life before it goes into Malkuth. And then it ends with the five of coins, which is Gavura. It goes back to severity. But it feels like it comes back to severity because after we make it to Yesod, we realize that something is missing. Yesod is the place where it all becomes one again. And I guess in a way, it sort of is the Hades and the underworld energy again. It's like, well, you got everything else. What are you missing? The Gavura, which is in some ways, I don't want to necessarily like say self discipline, but it is. Um, it's the part that we play. It's the thing that we do. It's what we contribute. What we contribute is feeling Gavura. What everybody and everything else contributes is feeling like, oh, it's right there. Who was that? Chesed. 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 I don't know how to pronounce it. And so it is like there's a lot of other expectation, but the self is kind of sort of missing. And so then we're reminded of the self. And that's what justice is offering. but it's to bring the self in balance with the heart. If chesed or if gavura is what we do, Ace of Wands is under that, which is Keter. And that's the space of what is unknowable. But it's feeling more like the unknowable. It's feeling like clockwork. And it's just that energy came out recently. It was Temperance and the Eight of Wands. And I was like, Temperance and the Eight of Wands, you would think that they're opposite energies. The Eight of Wands is quick, Temperance is slow. But Temperance in the space of alchemy, it's like there's either a missing ingredient or a key step of the process that is being overlooked. And it's like as soon as that ingredient is in the pot or as soon as that part of the process is being done, everything else rapidly follows. But it feels like that potential momentum makes the now action even more difficult. Because in chemistry, let's get Sagittarian. I say Sagittarius because every time I read Sagittarius, it gets scientific. In chemistry, that's the rate limiting step. The rate limiting step, it's the slowest step in the process, right? That's why it's rate limiting. It limits the rate at which everything comes to be. And it's like we're the rate limiting step in a way. Or we were the rate limiting step. And so it's to not be the rate limiting step, which is what I've been saying I wanted. I was like, I don't want to be what slows everything in my life down. I don't want to be what holds the goodness and the abundance and the joy and prosperity and everything. Like, I don't want to be what keeps it out or what causes the delay. So I'm going to show up. And now here I am. Gotta show up. But it's nothing that I can't do, and it's nothing that I'm not capable of. It's nothing that I've not been prepared to do and preparing myself to do. Just like if this resonates for you, I'm sure it's not anything that you aren't capable of or anything that you can't do. But it is kind of sort of gonna come to that time where the what we do, what you do, what I do is act on that healing or whatever we've been doing the work for, where we sort of step outside of our fears, our uncomfortabilities, or whatever. We provide the missing piece, and then everything else just kind of sort of happens. So, thank you, Skywaltress and Starborn Berg, for being here and stopping by. I'm going to go to sleep. I hope you all have a good whatever. Excuse me. I hope you all have a good whatever whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I guess I've pulled a few of these, so I will get a final card. I haven't used the vice verses in a while. Do I know where they are? Have I seen it? I think I know where they are. I kind of want to use them. Yeah, because it's like if I don't get it right, I ain't trying to have a rough Saturn return. Jupiter's about to move into Pisces. I got stuff to do. I got end of year resolutions. One of my end of year resolutions is to there's an app that I got some family members on. My grandma, my auntie, and I want to use that more. So far, I've been pretty successful. Oof. Well, if we're gonna end on a card, if we're gonna end on a card, why not end on the Ten of Swords after all that? It's Malkuth, 55. Shout out to Eve, Everlong Mystic. with the circle inside the triangle. The bottom of the deck is Bina, the Queen of Coins. We've officially seen every Sephira now. Keter was with the Ace of Wands under Justice. Here's Malkuth. Here's Bina. Chesed, we saw on the left, maybe with the King of Wands, I think. Or Chakma. Chesed, Gavora. Yeah, that's all of them. I feel like, though, Dayat is important here. Um, no problem. I feel like Dayat, the void, is important because it feels like the void is the space. The void is the space. The Sephira are the things. And it's like the void is the setting in a way. It's very like black hole. It's is it Einstein's theory of whatever, where it's like things have there's like the space-time continuum, and the more mass something has, the deeper the well, and so there are things that like orbit around the wells. It feels like that. It feels like the well is the void, and the things orbiting around the well, that's the 10 Sephira. Even though Malkuth is kind of sort of um, an all-in-one amalgamation. It's the microcosmic, macrocosmic. How we play everything out inside of us, and how everything is played out outside of us. As above, so below. As above, so below. Malkuth. As above, so below. Malkuth, 10 of Swords. It's this energy here, especially with the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Coins, Cardinal Earth energy at the bottom of the deck. It's like the more we resolve within ourselves, the more we open ourselves up to internally, the more we open ourselves up to externally. And it's like in my brain, it's an image of like old Egyptian, not necessarily Egyptian. There was a sphinx on this card right there, but it's more like a slab. And it's like, it's interesting though, but I guess Reem talked about it in her birthday live. Where how for some signs she read there was like a door to the past open and a door to the future. But it's like with the 10 of Swords, it's like as one door is closing, another one is opening. It's maquette. It's funny though, because it's almost like as we're closing a door in front of us, there's like this huge portal door behind us that's opening. Aries. All right. Bye.